This is why I quit therapy. Well, let's put it this way. This is why I know, or how I know when to quit therapy versus how I know when I should probably go back. So my name is Vicky and welcome to my videos, my channel, my Instagram page, whatever you're coming from. I make content about my experience with mental illness, bipolar disorder, and OCD, and all things mental health, how it affects me in my everyday life, how it affects me at work, and so much more. So today I wanted to talk to you guys about something that I had been experiencing throughout, my journey with my mental health, and that is going to therapy versus leaving therapy and coming back. So a year ago, I had been with this new therapist for around 8 months, and honestly, I was feeling a lot better. I was pretty stable, and therapy had kind of gotten, a little boring. Sometimes I would be like, oh, I'm so excited to go. I know it's kind of weird, but I'm so excited to go to therapy, talk things out, this is what's going on. And then eventually it just kind of became this is a task, I don't want to do it, I don't want to go. And I think it was really because, one, I was kind of tired of talking about the same thing. I was tired of, reliving traumas when I felt like I had already overcome them. And also because there was not much to talk about after a certain amount of time. Now, keep in mind, I've been on and off therapy for, 11, 10 years of my life. So this is I've had different therapists, I've had different experiences. So this is really not that new. But I felt like at that moment, this was 1 year ago, at that moment, I was really stable. And actually I had a pretty candid conversation with my therapist at the time. And she was like, well, I think she kind of discharged me. She was like, well, I think you've been doing a lot better recently. So we can just schedule, as you need them, whenever you need them, but we don't have to meet so regularly. And I was like, bet. So after that, honestly, I just kind of didn't go for a long time, for almost a year. And I was feeling great. I feel like, generally speaking, it is healthy to take pauses with therapy. I see therapy as something that it's a tool that we can use to make our lives better, to go through things, to learn how to manage different situations. So it's not something you have to go all the time in your life. It's more like a tool. Hey, it's whenever you have a headache, you need some Advil. I feel like at a certain point when you've gone enough, it can kind of be like that. So I was great, and I felt like while I was out of therapy, it really allowed me to take a moment and use the tools that they had given me and actually apply them in my everyday life and understand how it worked for me and all that kind of stuff. Now, this year, my job caused a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, to the point where I started experiencing some levels of, or feeling really sad, anxious, and a little bit of depression. And so I got to a moment where my thoughts, and this is how I knew I needed to go back, my thoughts were getting pretty dark. I was not sleeping, and I was just really anxious, not eating that well, all these kind of signs that I know, especially the dark thoughts and not being able to get out of bed, the kind of the symptoms of depression. And I thought, I think it's time to go to therapy because I can't allow the work that I do to really rule my whole life, because at the end of the day, it's not my whole life. So in my mind, I was like, I need tools to help me manage situations that I'm living through right now in order for me to handle them better and not feel so trapped and not feel sad. So I decided to go back to therapy, and I've had 3 sessions so far, and I'm feeling it out. It's a new therapist, we're seeing how things go. I think we have a plan of 6 sessions, and then from there it's kind of probably a discharge. So like I said, it all kind of, comes and goes, but I would say that to discharge you from therapy, it's honestly a good conversation to have with your therapist and being honest about how you're feeling. And I think that can be really hard sometimes, especially when you're a people pleaser. You're like, oh man, I don't want to hurt my therapist's feelings, but it's their job. So I think that definitely, if you don't feel like you're going anymore, if you're not feeling like you're getting anything out of it, if maybe you're in therapy and it's why are we going through the same things? Maybe it's not the right therapist. Maybe you've overcome those obstacles. But it's important to talk to your therapist about this, because obviously, like, you know, as a human, we might just want to get out of therapy, so we'll find any excuse to like not go anymore. So I think it's important to have a conversation with your therapist. But I do believe that it's healthy to have those periods of time where like you have space from that, you have space to just live your life, apply the tools that you've been given without always talking about like, you know, the same thing or the same traumas or whatever. I don't know, at least that's me. I'm not a doctor, but at least that's like my experience. And then when to go back to therapy, like I said, those symptoms of like, it's hard for me to get out of bed, I'm having a lot of intrusive thoughts, my thoughts are not very good, like they're kind of dark, I have a lot of anxiety. So like when you're feeling like you're kind of not grasping, you don't have a grasp on all on the aspects of your life, where you feel like you're kind of out of control and like things are kind of overtaking your happiness really and your stability, when something's really like bothering you and you're having a challenging time like managing it, I think that that's a good moment to go to therapy and figure those things out. So I hope that this video was helpful, and yeah, I mean, therapy is amazing, therapy is a tool, but we're humans, and I think, you know, it's okay to be on and off. Of course, everybody has their own cases, everybody's different, but at least in my case, that's really helped. So if you like this video, please don't forget to like and comment and subscribe, follow wherever you're coming from. And always remember that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and a bad day does not mean a bad life.